I want to welcome all of you to the Opportunity Coalition. For those who haven't been here before in the Innovation Pavilion, some great things have happened in this facility. The Innovation Pavilion is a business incubator. The youngest entrepreneur is in middle school, and the oldest entrepreneur is in their 80s, and it's everything in between. Over 80 companies have been founded in this location in the last few years. Companies that are creating jobs and making a difference. So it makes sense that we would hold the Opportunity Coalition events right here. I also want to thank our advisory board members who are here tonight. Kyle Henderson, Kyle, raise your hand. John Brackney. And Vic Ahmed is around here somewhere. Also Elle Hughes, Christina Whalen, and Millie Kitchen. Thank you for all the logistics and making it happen. You guys are the best. So for those who don't know me, my name is Brian Watson, and I'm the founder of the Opportunity Coalition. And people often ask me, well, what is this program about and why'd you do it? The Opportunity Coalition was founded to create bridges of connection, understanding, and collaboration between business, legal, nonprofit, entrepreneurs, academia, and political concerns throughout our great state of Colorado. You see, I believe when you put people in a room, great things happen. Sparks happen. New companies are created, new initiatives are put forth. So with that, I'd like to share a few thoughts about competition. Competition has gotten a bad reputation in the United States of America recently. Watch the news, and you'll see stories about people and business criticized for doing well. Think about that for a second. Criticized for doing well. We have also belittled competition. At some point, we grow up and know that not everyone can get a trophy. There's winners and there's losers. It's called competition. Competition is the fuel that drives our world. It makes us better, faster, and in the end, stronger. Missy Franklin is one of the greatest swimmers in the world. Today, because she's a true competitor. We got a clap for her. Thank you all for doing that. Somebody had to do that. I thought her father was going to do it, but we had somebody else. She pushes herself to do better every day. And she is motivated by the competitor in the lane next to her. In sum, that competitor makes her stronger. Our political candidates are competitors. Our sports heroes are competitors. And we, in this room, need to be competitors. We need to make competition a good, healthy thing again. The world is in a tough place right now. The cost of living is creeping up. The number of people unemployed or underemployed continues to be high. The battle over quality education rages on. And we watch as both sides of the political aisle seem unable to take action. America needs competitors who are driven to create better outcomes, to create great companies, winning teams, and innovative schools, and in turn, be rewarded for it. Reward is not a bad thing. It's a good thing for putting yourself forth and competing. We need business people, teachers, government administrators, and others who want to get better every day, who want to set a new high standard in their efforts. Competition makes us all better. It makes us identify what needs to happen for us to be successful. It pushes us to personal sacrifice and to focus. Here are some thoughts about healthy, productive, competitive spirit that I've learned over the years. First, know what you want. This is about your dreams and your vision. What others want from you will never motivate you the way your own dreams will. Where is your North Star pointing you? Get clear on that goal. Act now, don't wait. A great idea can't wait. If you wait, somebody else will beat you to it. The market can change overnight, and an opportunity can be lost. Whatever holds you back, move past it and act now. Be ready to work hard, harder than everyone else. That means getting up early, staying up late. It means putting in that extra effort that takes something good to great. And stay flexible. There will be obstacles along the way. Embrace them, learn from them, and use them to become more empathetic and loving, and to get smarter, better, and faster. Competition is a fuel that drives the world. We need strong, healthy competitors to make our world a better place. We can all play a part in making competition a good thing again. It starts with acknowledging the need for it and then doing it with honor and consistency. Keep going in the face of adversity. Risk it all for what is right, and keep your wits about you in the process. It's worth it. So with that, tonight the Opportunity Coalition is truly honored to have Dick Franklin as our guest speaker. Dick is the regional director and co-founder of the Clean Tech Open, which has grown to become the largest clean tech accelerator in the world. The Clean Tech Open has aided over 865 companies who have collectively raised over $1 billion and created thousands of jobs on a global basis. Dick is also the CEO and founder of EnviroBrand, which helps companies embark on triple bottom line strategies and social innovation in order to help maximize their organization-wide profits. His impressive resume boasts numerous formidable roles, such as the president and CEO of the RE/MAX Wildlife Experience right here in Colorado, COO of Circadence, and president of IT International. All told, he has over 35 years of CEO, COO, CSO, SVP. There will be a quiz on those later. So be ready. Leveled experience with corporations such as Reebok, Coors, Head Sports, 7-Up, TCI, and Nestle, just to name a few. His extensive contributions to the community and world at large were recognized by the South Metro Chamber when they awarded him the Volunteer Leader of the Year award in 2008, and again in 2010 when he was nominated for the Governor's Award for Clean Tech Leadership. Finally, beyond his entrepreneurial accomplishments, Dick is the proud father of 4-time Olympic gold medalist Missy Franklin. Following in her father's footsteps of remarkable achievements, she is a world record holder, the 2012 AAU Amateur Athlete of the Year, a 5-time Olympic medal recipient, and the first female to win 6 gold medals in a world championship in Barcelona. And we're a little bit proud that they're from Colorado. Well, Canada, then Colorado. But truly, the Franklin family understands and embraces competition. With that said, and no further ado, please help me join in welcoming Dick Franklin to the front.
Thank you so much. Very kind. How are we doing on slides, guys? Well, good evening, and what an honor to be here. Nice to see the crowd. So if you don't mind, we'll kind of bifurcate this, all right? I can't get away from the Mrs. Dad thing, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the Clean Tech Open, and I'm going to talk to you as business people and as citizens in respect to, after 35 years working in Canada, the United States, Asia, I've learned a couple of things, and being in my 60s, for all you young bucks out there, I think I can add a little bit of gray hair to the discussion. It'll help you give my view after being around for 6 decades, doing some pretty fun things, some remarkable things. And so I'll talk a little bit about the Clean Tech Open and what I think some of the challenges and opportunities are for us. and I'll try and keep that to like 15 or 20 minutes. And then probably by popular demand, I'll switch you out as an audience of business people, and I'll switch you in as an audience of parents. And I'd be happy to talk a little bit about the journey and that Missy and we have embarked on, and how it got started, what we think some of the success factors were, and what the key critical drivers were, and probably where we are today, and answer any questions you might have. I'll put the proviso out right now too, that anything I say that is family only. So please don't ever think I'm trying to tell you how to manage your family or how to bring up your children. But what I will tell you is what we did with Missy. And so it might be totally in line with your thinking, and it might not. So let's get started. Clean Tech Open, go ahead, I'll go through these real quickly. As Brian already said, major accelerator, started 6 years ago thanks to John Brackney and the Chamber. And after 6 years, we've accumulated a lot of knowledge in this area. Failure rates in this country for startups have been 90%. We're getting it down to 50. So we're making considerable traction with these teams. Go ahead. Some of the problems as we see them, and I'll start with those because just like Jim Collins out of Boulder wrote, one of the chapters that hit me the most was face the brutal truth. Face the facts, and deal with what's in front of you. Don't obfuscate it, don't walk away from it, but face it, because we're never going to solve some of these issues that we're dealing with as a society unless we face what's going on. Some of them as I see them, a collective failure to build environmental and social costs in the market system. It's the term externalities. Our accounting systems are 30 days, 90 days, they're short term, and there's a lot of impact that goes on in and around any corporation or entity that aren't being considered. And while we were in a world of infinite resources for the last 50 years, we've now tipped the balance, and we're now in a world of finite resources, and it's a whole new set of accounting. And we all have to acknowledge that. Facing unpredictable nonlinear climate change. You'd have to be living in a closet not to have experienced what we're experiencing just even in this country. From Sandy to the fires that are going on in Washington, worst fire in the history of the state. I was talking to an audience the other night, and I brought up the fact, I just kind of gleamed over the California situation, and I looked for reactions. And it was kind of numb. And I said, folks, did you not hear what I just said? California, 28 million people, the 7th largest economy in the world, where a lot of your fruits and vegetables come from, and we're going to be out of water in less than 2 years in that state. Out of water. Inconceivable, right? No, it's not. Talk to our friends down in NOAA. It's going to happen. So we got real challenges, but facing them is the key thing. Breaching the resilience boundaries of the planetary ecosystem. Most scientists and people in the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, right now it's 6.5 to 7 billion people. We're well beyond the ecosphere's ability to supply. And when we get to 9 or 10 billion by 2050, it's going to take 1.5 planets to deal with it, unless we get real smart real soon on innovation and technology. Approaching tipping point of sustainable existence, applying ordinary thinking in extraordinary times. This is about doing different things, not doing things differently. There's a big difference. Individual freedom and private property rights are pitted against the collective responsibility to protect shared resources. It's basic political and cultural issues we've got to somehow come together on. Short-termism, dictating quarterly behavior. Guilty as charged. As the vice president of marketing for the Coors Brewing Company, when Peter Coors told me I want X number of million gallons by March 31st, I got it done. Yeah, I got it done. Share price stayed the same, even going up a little bit. Board of directors was happy. Certainly Pete and Bill were happy because I sold the beer we said we were going to sell. But, you know what I'm going to say? Did we cannibalize April sales because we loaded the retail trade? Yes. Did we upset our customers because we had Coors Light piled to the bloody ceiling everywhere? Yes. Did we end up having old beer in the marketplace because it sat in a warm conditioned retail store for too long? Yes. But did we get our quarterly numbers? Damn right. You've got to come to grips with that short-termism. Have to come to grips with it. China's on its 7th 5-year plan. They think 5 years out. 7th 5-year plan. Okay, solutions. These are all, so there we are. Some of the broader truths, right? As Mike Tyson said, everybody has a strategy until you get punched in the face. I love that quote. We got lots of things going on. We got a brilliant, brilliant society. And I'm so fortunate that I work with all these young people all the time because I just see this stuff day in and day out, these bright ideas, these new technologies, the innovativeness that's coming out of the rank and file of this country. And that's what gives me hope. That's what gives me hope. Catalytic technology and heretical collaboration. World Business Council for Sustainable Development. These are the organizations that are talking about this issue on a global basis. Carbon, plastic, water. Accelerating decarbonization to 80% by 2050, despite all the debate about fossil fuels versus clean fuels versus renewable energy. All that debate is fine, and we will work out a balance of them all, and we'll hopefully work them out in a safe and socially acceptable manner that it's economical to the firms. But the issue is we have to decarbonize. There's no other way around it. We've gone from 350 parts per million to 405 parts per million. We're headed for 450 parts per million in the next 50 years, and there's not a scientist that's going to tell you that when we get to 450 parts per million of CO2 around this planet's atmosphere, we've tipped the balance as we know it. So despite all the fuel arguments, we don't decarbonize, your children and mine are in for a world, a really tough world, and of hurt. And by the way, that's where we're heading right now, is at 405. So carbon is the issue, and we've got lots of ideas going on. We will figure it out. There's many places that are getting it done. There's lots of new technologies coming out. Branson's got a $20 million challenge for the first person that can take CO2 and actually suck it into outer space. And his argument is the oceans are full, the oceans are overcapacitated, they're completely supersaturated with CO2, right? The deforestation that's going on, the lungs of the planet, the Brazilian forest, they're dwindling, so they're not converting CO2. Meanwhile, you know, we got China and other developing countries creating new coal power plants every 2 weeks. So we're up to 95 to 100, billion tons a year going into the atmosphere. The Earth can't keep taking it. And that CO2 is going to be around for 1,000 years. It's not going to be something that's going to dissipate. So Branson, clever as he is, figure out a way to get it out into the atmosphere. I'm going to run out of time before I even get started on this. Resetting price signals. You know, what you and I pay for water today, right here with Denver water, is almost criminal. Until we have price signals that truly appreciate finite products for what they are, they're here today and gone tomorrow. Go take a look at Lake Mead. Go take a look at Lake Powell. You're seeing the stuff going on in California. This southwest, extended drought, nonsense. It's the new reality. This is what we're going to have to live with. And when we're putting out $100 a month for water, we're never going to respect it.
And until we get the price points right, we'll start to realize just how life stops without water. Everything stops without water. It's one of our biggest issues. It is the next oil. Nobody ever wants to talk about population, but since I know you all so well, I'll throw it out there, right? I mean, it's religious, it's cultural, it's ethics, but guess what? It's that punch in the face. The planet can't take 10 billion people. I've been on the planet for 67 years, and it's gone from 2 billion to 6.5 billion in my lifetime. In Missy's lifetime, if it goes to 9 to 10, and then in her child's lifetime, as it goes to 12, there's not going to be enough food, not enough water, not enough animals, not enough fish, not enough topsoil, not enough agriculture to deal with it. It's just math. It's just math. So population somewhere, some down the line, is going to work on. Technological renaissance is the real evidence here, is the real solution. Circular economy, I'll get into these terms a little bit later on. Sustainable, restorative breakthrough. So it's sustainable, we're even moving beyond sustainable. Sustainable is just leaving things the way they are. That's not good enough. We got to start restoring things for the next generation, not just sustaining them. We got to take it up one more level. Want to flip it over? Or did you do it already? Fun, working for different industries. I've been in cable, I've been in sporting goods, I've been in food, I've been in soft drinks, I've been in beer, I've been in sneakers, I've been in hockey, skis, tennis. I mean, I'm a consumer expert. I mean, that's all I did for 30 years. And I competed. Brian mentions competition. I used to be 8 feet tall. I mean, Pepsi and 7-Up against Coke, Reebok against Nike, Coors against Budweiser, Nike, Coke. You want to talk about the 3 biggest elephants on the planet when it comes to consumer packaged goods? 25 years competing against them. It's a fabulous experience. Waste management and landfill. There's a great company, lots of things going on. We're looking at all sorts of alternative strategies. Billions of dollars of business established, but it's linear. It's the garbage in the back of this building, into one of their trucks, out to landfill. Linear, end of story. Now you talk to their executives and hear about the millions of tons that they're down last year. Down? What's going on? Economy's moving up. Well, because we got major Fortune 50 companies that are all publicly, through third-party audit, driving to net zero landfill contribution. So, right, the 80-20 rule. You got 4 or 5 big customers like Coors and AB and Coke, and they are all being asked by their CEO to eliminate landfill from their corporation. Down the supply chain, through their business retailers, everything they do, all of a sudden their business model is at risk, right? Coca-Cola. Now I can talk about this all day, and I'm going to move quicker. God, I can talk about this. Coca-Cola, right? Pepsi, AB, Coors. There's a lady up in Milwaukee called Kim Murata. She's the Global Environmental Officer. Gosh, we never had titles like that 10 years ago. Never had them, right? VP of Sustainability did not exist. Kim, what's keeping you up at night? No, we're an $80 billion business, and we're running out of water. No water, no beer. Do the math. You get that huge business been around for 100+ years, and now they're going, whoops. No water, no beer. No water, no soft drinks. We got Coca-Cola plants in India that have been shut down because the aquifer was about to go dry. And the Coca-Cola executives would go to the mayor and go to the politicians and say, you can't shut us down. We spent millions of dollars on building this plant. We've hired all these employees. We're paying all these taxes. You can't shut us down. And what does the mayor, what does the governor of the province in India say to Coke? Aquifer's almost dry. No water, no town. Close it up. Close it up. Fundamental seismic shifts in business models that we've all lived with are all going to be facing some very serious ecological freight trains coming down the tunnel. And the good ones are really preparing for it now. You know all the rest of those. Go ahead. Opportunities. If you were to ask me as a business person, okay, never mind all this scary stuff. Where's the money? Show me the beef. How can I do well in this situation? Man, there's opportunities like you wouldn't believe. When I talk to MBA classes and to young people, I say, no, I was in the fashion business. I mean, it was up one day and down the next. Are you kidding me? Beer, soft drinks, apparel. It's crazy. And if you make a mistake, tennis rackets, wrong color sports bag, wrong material, you're done. When you're ordering $5 billion worth of shoes from Asian factories and you get the wrong design and the wrong color a year ahead of the time, you're done. There's never been a straighter line than what our MBAs and our students can be looking at for the next 20 years, because this is not going to change. These are opportunities that are right in front of you, that if they're smart enough and clever enough and they can pick up on these, they're going to have a very interesting lifestyle. Heating and cooling solutions for buildings. A lot of our power goes to cooling and heating our infrastructure that's been built for the last 60 years in this country. The LEED stuff is great, but it's only 1 or 2% of the total building, right? It's the old legacy infrastructure that we got to modify. You come up with a model for that, and you're going to make a fortune. Smart buildings, buildings that cool themselves, heat themselves, all of that. I mean, it's just huge, and I'm seeing new solutions coming across all the time. Infrastructure upgrades. There's not a politician in this country that wants to say to all of the people in New York or Miami or St. Louis, guess what? I'm in charge. I'm going to raise all your taxes for 20% because we're literally sitting on a rotting infrastructure. Our bridges are collapsing. Our sewers are collapsing. We're losing water at billions of gallons a day because none of the pipes down there. They got wooden pipes in Miami. There's not a politician in the world that's going to do that. No, leave it for the next guy. I just want to get voted up next, but leave it for the next guy. We're sitting on infrastructure that's 50, 60, 70 years old, and we're all going to pay that price. We're all going to pay that price someday. Water desalination, as I talked about. Here's a great challenge for you all. Real simple. Sea levels are rising. It's very conceivable we're going to see 1.5 billion people offset from rising sea levels, 3 to 6 feet. And this new development in the Antarctic is going to accelerate that. So let's figure it out. If the sea levels are rising in the oceans and the lands are parched, then let's come up with a solution for massive economical desalination. Freshen the water, get it to the lands, cultivate the land, pump it in, land, develop the agriculture and the fruit, and keep the Pacific and the Atlantic from overtaking Miami or Manhattan or Bangladesh. Not to mention the Maldives, not to mention the Solomons, right? Big one, carbon mitigation. Talked about that already. Methane capture. Methane is 20 to 25 times worse than CO2. And methane's a real issue, especially with the melting down and the warmer temperatures up in the Ukraine and the northern West territories. All of that carbon that's in that land has been frozen and captured for centuries. We're now starting to see it all bubble up because the land is thawing and the methane is seeping to the top. So not only do we produce a lot of methane in our own businesses and culture every day, but we got these natural things that are going to be an accelerator on methane going forward. And like I said, it's 20 times more deleterious as a GHG gas. Methane captured, drones, robots, satellite. I don't know how you feel about monitoring, but this if you're in the drone business, Katie bar the door, you are going to make a fortune. You're going to make a fortune. There are people now who are coming out with hand-thrown drones, and they're surveying everything. They're They're overseeing poachers in Africa that are killing the elephants for the ivory. They're poaching fishing areas in lakes and oceans where people are capturing sharks and finning them for shark fin soup, and how we lose 95 million sharks a year on this planet. There's going to be these drones checking us out everywhere on every activity on the planet. And once we get the enforcement behind the observation, we're going to have one heck of a business model. One heck of a business model. I get real excited about that. Carbon-free weaponry. Now this one's sick, right? I'm sick. Carbon-free weaponry. I mean, that's really a sick notion. But gee, I've been around 70 years. There's been somebody fighting and killing somebody the whole time. And whenever they do that, there's one hell of a mess. The buildings get burnt, black smoke goes up. The pollution is horrendous. So lead and gunpowder's been around, what, China, right? How many, 3,000 years? You think it'd be smarter to come up with something new. Maybe a ray gun where we can get rid of the enemy and not mess up the cities, not mess up the streets, not create fires, and, right? That could be a heck of a business. Waterless agriculture is coming up. It's going to be fascinating. Big data, big data, big data. The stuff that's coming through, the Internet of Things, the data, the stuff we know on, dynamic 24/7 monitoring every millisecond. We're going to get forecasted projection things. We're going to be able to sense things before they happen. We'll be able to get warnings on oil rigs before they blow up. We'll be able to get warnings on fracking before we find out we got 27% more methane above the well. We're going to get all sorts of prognostics that are going to allow us to be smarter about all the things we're doing on the planet. Go ahead. Sorry, Brian, I'm going to whip through this now. Okay. Yeah. Here's some fun stuff that Accenture does a lot of work in this area. Entrepreneurs today, born global. They're thinking the Internet of Things, they're thinking broad. 70% of startups launched in the last year are expanding globally, 70%. In my day, boy, it was just, hey, if I can operate in my own town, I've got a business. These young kids today, it's, come on, Mr. Franklin, China's next, and then Brazil. Really? I mean, they are thinking global, and that's all good for all of us. Current public policy, fragmented and inefficient. You know that. Legislation up, legislation down, depending who's in charge, where their political norms are. A lot of new businesses have a hard time understanding what the playing field is. If they don't understand what the playing field is, they don't get investors behind them because the risk is too high, and we don't get anywhere. So getting that squared away and getting beyond this 90-day thinking and get us into 5-year planning, we're going to give our entrepreneurs a much better, more level playing field to get some things done. Firms 5 years and less drove 50% of all new jobs. For all you want to say about big business, this is where the youth employment is going to come from over the next 20 years. It's going to be about all these entrepreneurs, all this innovation, and companies you've never heard of before are going to be major factors and major employers in the next 20 years. And that's really exciting. Okay. Go ahead. I'm not going to go through it. And real money, we always like to, you always hear the arguments, right? Tree hugging, sustainability, it costs money, it costs money, it costs money. At least with my business background, I've been able to sit down with smart people and show them that this doing well is you can do well by doing good. This is smart business. There are companies that are so much farther out, economically, financially, employee motivation-wise, etc., because they're incorporating some of these sustainability notions into their business model canvas. So it does pay. Besides, like that internalization, this full absorption costing thing, we're going to have to start factoring in all these costs. Insurance companies, any company is going to, investors, huge investment houses are now challenging companies on the fact that they have or have not put in strategic pro-action to deal with climate change on their business model over the next 5 to 10 years. Because that's telling those investors, if they're not thinking about it, if they're not doing anything about it, they're toast. And I'm not going to continue investing in their business. So there's a lot of financial reasons for companies taking this triple bottom line approach. I talked about the drought. I can't emphasize enough of the water issues. We're almost down to the first valve at Mead, right? We're almost down to the first valve. And we got a whole city down there, right? You go through the first valve, they're now digging another tunnel to get it down lower so they can pull the water from low. I mean, this is serious stuff. This is the city of Las Vegas we're talking about. We thought it was smart to build a city in the desert. Now we're going to deal with it. It's like New Orleans being 6 feet underwater below sea level. Solar price, some good things going on. Price signals are starting to reflect finite resources. Solar pricing is planned to be below grid electricity in 25 states. Pricing by 2015. We got countries like Germany and Denmark. Germany's about 50% solar. Denmark's solar and wind and almost 100% renewable. The world solar now is 137,000 megawatts, so where we were 10 years ago. I remember John and I talking about this 10 years ago. Here, I mean, it's happening now. It's really happening now. My home of Ontario is closing its last coal-powered thermal plant. We got nuclear, the Ontario I'm American now. we got nuclear, we've got hydro, Niagara Falls, you know, we've got, but we've had a whole different fee process on energy in the province of Ontario, which is 40% of the Canadian population, which as of 2015 will be void of coal entirely, and still accommodating the energy requirements of that very sophisticated population from Toronto to Ottawa. So it can be done. Go ahead. Well, I've mentioned the healthcare costs. I mean, nobody wants to even try healthcare costs. I was in Shanghai last year at a swim meet, and I was reading in the paper about the first 5-year-old little girl with stage 4 lung cancer. First time ever recorded, Shanghai. Stage 4 at 5. Most of them are wearing the white surgical mask now. City of 24 million people. Clean energy report, okay. Never mind, let's move on to Clean Tech Open, and then I'll get on to Missy. So I'm setting up the problems, setting up the opportunities, and we can continue on. That's just a, here's the stuff that's going on. Energy demand, we're looking at 40 and 50% on a global basis over the next 20 to 30 years. Consumption is skyrocketing, oil supply is peaking, fresh water we've talked about. Waste, and more waste. Landfill, we're at 80% capacity in this country. What happens when we get to 100? Where is your garbage going to go? It's a big deal right now because landfill and landfill to energy, right? A lot of methane. There's some real good business models. Okay. We all know that. That's the future. Go ahead. So heretical innovation, what I mean by that is, are some of you as old as I am, do you remember the ping pong? Where's my nuclear person? Remember that Walt Disney did a ping pong exhibit in 1960 or 59, where he had a basketball court with mousetraps and ping pongs. And to explain nuclear fission, right? He threw the ping pong out into the court, and of course you know what's going to happen, right? One hit one, and then two, and then there was this just eruption of ping pong balls. That's what we call heretical innovation. As all this stuff starts to take momentum, we're going to start seeing a geometric increase in solutions, a geometric increase in acceleration of solutions. As the next generation comes up, as technology improves, as the internet continues to connect us, and if we have the right attitude about collaborating and moving forward on a global basis. Go ahead. Okay, real quick, I'll give you this real quick sell on the Clean Tech Open. Go ahead. It's the largest accelerator, started 6 years ago. It's all volunteers. Keep going. Here's some of our metrics. Founded in 2005, not-for-profit, volunteers, alumni, raised $1 billion, run 100 plus events all around the country. Go ahead. This is our mission: find, fund, and foster clean tech entrepreneurs. Young people, not even young people, all people, innovators, startups that have great idea people that no idea how to commercialize it. And that's what we do. Go ahead. Keep going. That's just our ecosystem. This is all the stuff we do: training, mentoring, exhibiting, access to capital. We do speed dating with investors and angels and corporate strategy money and angels. Keep going. Lots of parties. Go ahead. Lots of good speakers. You know, Stephen Blank, and I mean, just wonderful people. We're connected with all the universities from MIT to Stanford. Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. Here's our regions. When John Brackney and I went out to California, they were just operating in Northern California. That's it. And Mr. Brackney and I and a bunch of other people from South Denver convinced them that it was too good for California, that we had to expand it. And so the first region was here in Denver, the Rocky Mountain region. And John Brackney smiled at me and said, "Dick, you know, why don't you volunteer a couple hours and get this thing kicked off?" And I believed him. 6 years and 80 hours a week later. Keep going. Here's our categories. So people, clean tech is an overused phrase, right? But energy generation, energy efficiency, agriculture is big, water, waste, distribution, storage, battery storage is huge right now, especially with lithium ions and electric cars and storage, chemicals, information, like I said, big data, green buildings we talked about, and of course transportation. So if you're an entrepreneur in any one of these areas, we take you in and start from there. Go ahead. This is what our calendar looks like. We are not a weekend program. There's a lot of contests. We don't call ourselves a competition. We don't call ourselves a contest, even though there are prizes. But this goes on for 5 or 6 months. It's very intense. It starts off with a 4-day drinking through the fire hose, MBA 101, and then goes all summer long with mock judging presentations. We teach these folks everything. Like all of you, we've got our own area of expertise, and if you're starting a business, you need to be this wide, right? Especially as an entrepreneur. And even speaking, you know, presentation, how to stand up in front of somebody and be compelling to an investor. A lot of them have never done that before. They've been in the lab for 7 years. They don't want to talk to you. Go ahead. And of course, we couldn't do it without our sponsors, so I'll throw these guys up because they're so important to us, because this is how we do it. Keep going. Arrow. So pleased to say Arrow, you know, it's new to Denver, one of the biggest corporation in Denver, signed on as a national sponsor with us 4 months ago. Yes, wonderful people. Keep going. Park, Xerox, and then we get into a lot of regional sponsors, law firms, accounting firms, engineering firms, service providers, insurance companies, and they all do it for 3 reasons. Service providers, because it's new business. They get to meet the entrepreneurs are successful, and hey, now I've got a new client for my legal business. So that makes sense. Second level is more access, early look, Coors, Budweiser, Coca-Cola, water. You know, we put through 35, 40 water ideas a year. They want to see them first. Because just there, those 2 guys standing up there at the podium with that crazy desal idea might be exactly what Coca-Cola is looking for in India. So, early look, first access. Third reason, brand halo. The Wells Fargos. Phenomenal stuff in sustainability, from green banks to sustainable investments, yada, yada, yada. Their president stands at a podium like this in front of millions of people and talks about how proud they are to be supporting American entrepreneurialism in the clean tech space. So it's brand array, brand halo. Okay, can we flip over? That's Clean Tech Open. I'll answer afterwards. So you still got time for me? You want to hear a little bit about Missy?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take off the suit. And I'm going to put on no, I'm not going to put on a Speedo. Maybe 50 years ago, but not now.
So I just pulled together some fun stuff to show you. We'll go, this is Missy, right? Born here, well, born in California, but we moved back out before she was a year old. So raised in Centennial. Ordinary kid, very ordinary kid. Her mom's from Nova Scotia, so didn't know how to swim because it's too damn cold. So she took her to the Greenwood Athletic Club when she was 6 months for infant drown-proofing, infant, orientation. And she came home that night and said, it is really strange. The instructor, all the other babies were crying and spitting and wailing. And Missy was opening her mouth and opening her eyes underwater, and she was just laughing and had the instructor said, I never saw a baby do that before. Lesson number 1, pay attention. Pay attention for those signals in your children. Find out, identify where the lights go on, and then do everything you can to enable it. But the lights have to go on there first. I had a lot of bad experiences as the president of Reebok, and as the president of HEAD, and as the group product manager of Cooper Hockey in Canada, and being an ex-professional athlete myself. I had a lot of bad experiences with parents, overzealous parents, living their lives vicariously through their children. Tim, you don't look happy out in the football field. You're going to get hurt, Tim. You just don't. You're not there, buddy. What's going on? Why are you here? Well, because I want to play football. No, I don't think, Tim, you want to play football. Why are you here? Well, okay. Well, my dad played ball, and he really wants me to play football. I can't tell you how many times I've run into that in my professional career. And I'll sit here and tell all of you, empathetically, you're making a huge mistake. Look for the signals. Look for the things that turn them on. Just like you in business, right? If it's business, if you're not passionate, then it'll always be work, and you will never be world class. For all the success stories in the world, it's the people that match up their heart with their brain and have the opportunity to go out and excel at it. Go ahead, these are just some hero shots. Mile High, yeah. This was down at Denver Athletic Club. We were talking about that today. She was the first woman on the cover of Mile High Sports. This is just a kid from Centennial, right? This is our media world and how this blew up. Keep going. Like Michael Phelps, this was in the Washington Post. They, positioned my daughter as a freak. 6'1", 16, size 13 feet. Only 7% of the population, or something like that, is actually wider than they are taller, like Phelps is and Missy is. Missy's like 3 inches wider, figuratively, than she is tall. It's a swimmer's body. Couldn't have designed it better myself. Go ahead. Lots of stuff for a little girl. So much fun meeting all these wonderful people in our society. Brian Williams, keep going. And all of you, I mean, the love and the support we've gotten from the state of Colorado, from the governor all the way down to Mayor Kathy Noon. I mean, I can't tell you. Unbelievable. Keep going. So let's talk physiology. When Missy was 5 years old, she liked gymnastics. And we had to have this talk with her. When she was getting upset about not being able to do the forward roll or that backflip, because she was 3 feet longer than the other little girls, kind of said, honey, you might want to try something else. So again, where parents come in handy is understanding sports, understanding the mechanics of sports, understanding the dimensions of sports, and where the math is, right? Sean's a beautiful young lady, you know who she is, right? But there's the difference between a gymnast and a swimmer. Sean's like 101 pounds. Fabulous gymnast. But I'm glad Missy didn't spend 5 years of her life trying to do that somersault. Because then we're going to talk about focus, right? As you all know in business. Keep going.
This is the governor and the mayor, John somewhere there at Centennial Park. But a huge deal for Missy. It was just, brought me to tears. Go ahead. Regis, okay? I'm going to put up for Regis. Right? It's math. It's math. It's math. Focus, focus, focus. It's math. I had three friends of mine sitting around at a Starbucks one day. 4 young teenage girls came in. I won't say which school they were in, but they were kind of dressed nice, and the 4 fathers started complaining about their daughters. What are you guys talking about? Oh, Nancy's doing this, Sally's doing it. What are you guys talking about? Well, you know, in the morning, it takes them an hour. I mean, they're doing the makeup, and they're getting the dress right, and they change their blouse 2 or 3 times. And I'm going, you're kidding, right? Like 45 minutes every day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, all year long? How many hours is that getting ready to go to school? Why? What's going on with Missy? Well, she's a Regis. It's tan slacks and a golf shirt. Hair in a ponytail, no makeup, gone. Do the math. Right? Do the math. The whole boy thing. She calls all the girls at Regis her sisters. I got other girls at other high schools calling the other girls the mean girls. So I give Regis, she just came out of Berkeley, first year, 6 hours of training a day, first time away from home, first time out of state, first time living on her own, and pulled off 6 hours of training a day and a 3.8 average at Berkeley. That's Regis. That's Regis. Regis, all that prep, the community service, all that prep, I can't say enough about those wonderful people over there and what that all-girls school did for Missy in terms of her Christianity, her morals, all of it. It was worth every penny of the extra 10 or 12 grand a year. Every penny. In fact, I get a lot of people saying, oh gee, that costs you a lot of money. Yeah, but did I mention that she's got a full ride scholarship at Berkeley? That's $60,000 a year for 4 years. That's $240,000. Hey, guess what? My Regis investment was a good one. I'm a smart business guy. Right? Think long term. Get beyond the 90 days. Go ahead. That's Father Steele, by the way. Phenomenal guy. And then we got back home after the medals. Oh gosh, just keep rolling. I mean, soccer, flipping the coin, Mile High, opening pitch with the Rockies. We got the Nuggets. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on. Right? And then the Hollywood stuff started happening. The MTV Music Awards. Keep going. Arizona invited her down to be Grand Marshal for the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, it just got crazy. Keep going. That's Gabby Douglas. That was the young lady that won the all-around gold this year. Wonderful young lady. Stand Up for Cancer in LA. This is just, Matt, the Today Show. Keep going. Our good old buddy now moving on at the Tonight Show. Got to see his car collection while I was there.
Nice.
Keep going. The glamour stuff, these are all the 5 glamour women for Glamour magazine. Missy, Gabby, this young lady Kayla, first American to win a gold medal in judo, abused by her coach, took him to court, won, and still all that trauma came out and won the gold medal. And first woman to win the gold medal in judo for the United States. Phenomenal young lady. And of course Allison and Felix, the one that scored the final goal, the winning goal for the American soccer team. I mean, phenomenal young women. Unbelievable. Keep going. That's okay. Just keep riding. I'm almost done. He gets to walk around with really cool people. Keep going. A lot of magazines. 5280. She won the Amateur Athlete of the Year, as Brian said, which was really a fun thing. I mean, Peyton Manning's won that. I mean, some pretty iconic people have won that. Keep going. Speaking of that, this was the Professional Athlete of the Year, and this was the Amateur Athlete of the Year, the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. Keep going. Warrior Games, that'll move you. Go to Colorado Springs, look at all of our young people with no arms and no legs, and blind. This young man was a swimmer and he was blind. He got a roadside bomb. Blew both his eyes out. and he's a swimmer. And of course, you know this dude. So
Yeah.
Prince Harry, it was Missy's birthday, and Prince Harry actually sang happy birthday to her on her birthday. But that's lighting the torch. The senators over here. That's just this is surreal stuff, right? This is a teenager. This is a kid from Centennial. Keep going. Reader's Digest. They put an edition together last summer for the 50 reasons why we love America. And the number one reason was, so she was on the cover. And now we're getting beyond the swimming. Now we're getting beyond what Missy represents. And this is what I give her mother. I gave her the big feet, her mother gave her her grace, right? So keep going. Wonderful things went on there. It was truly magnanimous. Just keep rolling. Arthur Ashe's Kids Day. Arthur was my pro when I was president of HEAD in Boulder. One of the finest gentlemen I have ever met. And here I am, like 25 years later, and we're at the Arthur Ashe Kids Day. Of course, whenever we go to another city, the hospitals want Missy out, and she does the cancer wards. Just lights up these kids, lights up these kids. And Missy was the MC. She co-hosted, and Lady Obama came out. And this is even better than Missy winning the gold medal. It really is, because Lady Obama is in front of the crowd. They're on media. It's New York City. It's at the U.S. Open. And she looks out at the crowd and looks over at Missy and says, "Yes, and Missy, the president and I want to thank you for representing America the way you did." Right? I mean, she didn't have to say that. She did not have to say that. I mean, that's what gets your juices going. Go ahead. She won Sportswoman of the Year up in New York City last fall. And then just recently, next one, the Laureus Awards. Many of you probably haven't heard of Laureus, have you? Hands? No. Okay. And it's very international. It's 15 years old. It was started by Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela believed that sports was the tool for social change. And this organization operates all over the world. And they put $60 to $100 million a year into sports for children in countries around the world. And they honor 5 awards every year around the world. And Missy this year won the Global Sportswoman of the Year from Laureus. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. She ran into, there's race car drivers, there's wrestlers, it's everybody you can imagine. And it's pretty darn cool. We had to go to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia for that. Okay, I'm done. Another one? Parting shot, and this is probably the last thing before I give you a couple of comments to top it off. The parting shot this is, like I said, beyond the gold medals, beyond the Tonight Show, the Today Show, and all the other nonsense. The thing that warms our hearts the most is wherever she goes to look at these small children that completely idolize her. And they want to swim like Missy. They want to know what she eats. They want to know what she drinks. They want to know how hard she works. And we get letters from parents from all over the world, still 2 years after the Olympics, saying thank you, because their daughter or their son was doing this or doing that, and because of Missy, they've been reinvigorated and training now at whatever sport they do. That's got to be hard, right? I mean, that's good. And it's all over the world. There was 1.2 billion people watching swimming in London. 1.2 billion. So anywhere she goes, in any country, of course she's 6'2" and she looks like an American. But everybody recognizes her now. And that's a big audience. Okay. That last slide, I think. So some of the best practices for us, okay? Not for everybody. Manage resources. It's math, it's math, it's math. We had her when we were in our 40s. So we're older parents. So we had 80 years on the planet. We didn't have any other children. So we had 100% focus. We'd been there, done that. Bought the cars, bought the houses, bought the boats. Been around the world. So when we had the kid when we were in our 40s, what did we care about? The job? No. The boats? No. The bigger house? No. We cared about the kid. Focus. Time. Her mother's a doctor. She was in her 40s. She gave up her medical career in the maximum earning time of her life. And she gave, for 15 years, she was there every day for that child and gave up a 6-digit salary every year for 15 years to make sure she was with that kid. Time, focus, time, focus. Setting goals early, you know, like I said, 6 months, we got a signal. She played other sports, and we helped her with other sports, but she self-selected. Absolutely. First soccer went because it conflicted with the swimming schedule. Then downhill went. She was on downhill since she was 2. But by the time she was 9 or 10, she was going, you know, this is kind of dangerous, Mom. You know, if I get hurt, you know, I lose races by 1/100th of a second. I can't twist an ankle or twist a leg. I'm going to stop swimming, or I'm going to stop skiing, Mom. As much as I love it. She self-selected out and started focusing and focusing and focusing. Abide by the 10,000 hour rule. You know what that is, right? That's Malcolm Gladwell's book. 10,000 hour rule. There's no getting around this. And this is the best thing you can teach your kids. There's talent, and then there's talent and effort. And talent alone is never going to beat out talent and effort. Missy's got 20,000 hours in. 20,000 hours, easy, into swimming. You've got to put in the time. That's the difference between world class and average. I had mentioned the passion indicators, right? As long as she's having fun, I told a reporter in New York, I said, I think she's the happiest child in the world. I've never seen her have a bad day. The kid gets up smiling at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she's smiling at 9 o'clock at night when she goes to bed, after her 5th meal. Minimize the distractions, school, other things, all the stuff that gets into our kids' heads when they're teenagers especially. If you can minimize or mitigate or somehow reduce some of that and get her just focused on studying, her sisters, and swimming, and her coach, and her church. Okay, end of story. It's just math. Enable versus motivate. You don't motivate your children to do anything. You enable it. You make it possible. You spend the money, you spend the time, and hopefully it'll work out for you. Set up for success. Visualize. We have in our rec room in Centennial, we have a child's painting. It's about yay big from kindergarten. And it's 5 rings. You know which rings I'm talking about. And then there's this kind of wavy little blue surface below it. And then there's a stick person swimming in the water. Kindergarten. Honey, what's that all about? I'm going to be in the Olympics. Really? 5 years old. Okay. We framed it. We had it because it was in her head then. Okay, long term, focus long term, take it day by day, every day. Acknowledge your limitations and pivot. You know, that's what we tell our entrepreneurs. Honey, you're not going to be a gymnast. Let's pivot. Let's move on to something we know. Let's leverage your strengths and forget about the weaknesses. You're just not built to be a gymnast. And keep it fun. Fun, fun, fun. Her coach here, Todd Schmitz, he was a genius at keeping her and her friends, boys and girls, happy. I mean, everything from throwing Halloweens in the pool, or pumpkins in the pool on Halloween, to turning up the music, whatever he could do to make that black line, you know, black line. We're talking 4, 5, 6,000 yards a day, people. That black line can become oppressive. And he kept it fun. And I give Todd Schmitz all that credit in the world, because not once did I pick that kid up and say, how did practice go? And have her go, God, that was really, really miserable. No, it was always, had a blast, had so much fun, really, really did this, really did that. And as long as that joy was there, she went back the next day and she did better. And if you look at her times from the age of 9 up to 19, she's just gotten progressively faster every month, every year for the last 10 years. That's it.
Great.
I'm sorry, I went way over.
Close.
Huh?
You were close.
Oh,
I'm gonna
God.
step up here.
I
Ask
feel,
some questions.
I feel bad.
Okay. I'm going to ask a few questions of Dick, and then we're going to open up to the crowd. So the first question that I have for you is, who is one of your heroes and why? If you wouldn't mind answering in the microphone so we can get that.
Sure. Well, I think my instant response to that is Vince Lombardi. Because I'm a football player and because he was a disciplinarian. You know, I had a father that was blue collar and he was pretty mean, and I was the oldest son. And I always rebelled against him as a boy. And Vince Lombardi, you know, that's the first one. And then the second one would be Jacques Cousteau, because I've been scuba diving for 35 years, and that man taught me back in the 60s what was going on in the oceans of the world, and I believed him. I mean, it was there, and I've seen the degradation in the oceans since then. And so those two, over on the sports side and over on the environment side, I would say are two of my heroes.
If you were king for a day and could enact any change that you wanted, what would that be and why?
King for a day.
Just a day, though.
Just today? Oh, man, I would, if I was king for a day, I would develop a global curriculum for the next generation so they could truly understand and internalize the challenges that lie ahead of them, because they are going to have the opportunity to make significant change in how they live and how they treat the wonderful planet that we live on. So for me, having those kids think that way, having those children think that way for the next 50 years, I think would be ultimately powerful.
Okay, my last question, and we'll open it up to the group. Most of the time when we hear the environmental alarm, it comes in the form of government restrictions and laws. You're unique in that you come from the business world, some very large companies at that, and you're doing this in a positive way, in a free market way, to encourage this change. What is your reception from the hardcore environmentalists and business itself as you're going out and promoting this throughout the world?
That's great. So initially there's pushback, like this, which is the world we're in right now, right? There's polarization and left and right and climate deniers and tree huggers, and so you got to get through that polarization. I mean, as a businessman, how I get through all that is showing them clear thinking and strategy going forward on cutting costs, making money, and increasing new market opportunities, because that's what all this does for you if you do it right. Not to mention, and I didn't mention this earlier on, but I can't tell you the side benefit of some of these CSR, corporate social responsibility programs, developed and implemented in companies. I can't tell you the change that's occurred within their culture and within their employees. I mean, it's unbelievable. You got warehouse people coming up with ideas because you've enabled them to come up with ideas. And there's less churn, they stay with you longer, they're really proud of who they're working for, they think the boss is a cool guy because he's putting money on gas trucks and on diesel trucks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's very powerful when it comes to motivating and keeping your employees.
Think about that for a second. Creating opportunity for people in the way in which you want them to go versus coercing them and controlling them. Novel concept. With that, let's open some questions up to the crowd. Anybody have any questions of Dick? Kyle?
What's your favorite book, or what's a book that you recommend that maybe touches on some of these needs, interests, passions, etc.?
For those that didn't hear Kyle, he asked what is your favorite book and what would be your recommendation for that touch on some of this?
I like Andrew Winston. He's done some Green to Gold. I gave to the mayor. He was mayor, Hickenlooper, and he ended up distributing that to everybody he knows downtown, because Green to Gold's got empirical evidence of 50 to 100 major companies that adopted and internalized sustainability strategies and triple bottom line thinking and have come out on top on every metric. Employee satisfaction, profit, growth, cost cutting, market share, you name it, they've come out on top. And so that's a businessman's book, right? Not an environmental book. So Andrew Winston, he's got a new one out as well on the pivoting of business models, but he's a terrific young man, has done wonderful things.
Thank you.
Gail?
I have a question. It's obvious to all of us in this room that, I'm going to bring politics in a little bit, just because of this example, that the Obama administration did not set out to find people like you and other knowledgeable people in the world to bring together to put this healthcare plan together in a cohesive and financially responsible manner. And so they wasted a lot of our money, a lot of resources, and a lot of time, and we still have a broken funnel. So what do you think you or other people can do to stop the political polarization so that instead of paying our best friend down here, who may be the 50th best knowledgeable person to be putting something together, that we can cross those party lines and put people in positions who are knowledgeable about whether it's, global
Right.
water or whatever else.
Right.
And not waste a lot of time and a lot of resources and then get people so angry and so fueled up that that's all we can talk about is the political ramification of it instead of how to bring us together to solve
No,
it.
good points. And healthcare is a tough one because, you'll recall I come from Canada, so I don't want to say anything, but we've been living under a wonderful healthcare system in Canada for a long time, and it just drives me crazy at the struggling that we're doing with that concept here. So, for me, now you won't expect me to say this. For me, one of the biggest disappointments was the first person that came out and started alerting us to some of these issues, climate-wise, was Al Gore. And and that, The Inconvenient Truth. Do you remember that book? And that created polarization from the get-go. I wish anybody else would have come out with that same study to start us off on a neutral path. But because it was Al Gore, it was all BS, right? And we polarized since then on that. We got the governor of Florida, right? You heard it it was last week. He was in the headlines for totally denying climate change, doesn't believe it. And he's in a state that's got serious ecological challenges over the next 20 years when it comes to water and ocean rises and everything else. So I don't know what the answer is. Open-minded versus closed-minded, if we spent more time listening instead of talking, if we spent more time not trying to defend our position but trying to listen to the other point of view, that heretical collaboration, we've got to get there. And we got to get it not just domestically between our own parties, we got to get there globally. And some of these climate meetings, like the one coming up in Paris in December, they're really starting to make some moves. They're really starting to gain some ground. We're eventually going to have global monitoring, global control, and global enforcement because these other countries are realizing that, I was reading about India in The Economist this week. They got 1 billion people that don't use toilets. Open defecation. It's a massive educational issue. And it's causing all sorts of disease and stumpiness in their children, because, and it's as much cultural as it is infrastructure. We've got to fix that. Or it's never going to get ahead.
Let's take one more question, if we could.
Elon Musk has to be one of your heroes.
Oh, yeah.
He's turned the automotive industry upside down. I'm now going to go after one of your sponsors, Chevron. If you could have an Elon Musk kind of individual, chairman and CEO of Chevron, what 3 things would you say to that individual he or she must do?
First and foremost, again, is the open mind to a diverse energy portfolio. None of us are advocating that we're wiping out the coal, wiping out the oil. We need that. We have energy demands, so we're going to require that. But I refuse to capitulate to the left or the right in the sense that if we're going to move from fossil fuels to clean fuels, we're going to give up. We're going to lose money. We're going to lose jobs. I just refuse to capitulate to that. I believe we're smart enough. The Elon Musks of the world, never mind the Solyndras, because there's always a few of those. But he not only did he come up with a terrific model in technology, but he basically looked at Detroit and said, that whole dealership idea is out the door. I'm going direct, kind of like Michael Dell did with the Dell computer. I'm going direct. And that automobile is the beginning, I think, of a very different transportation future. I mean, we're still all here in the West, you know, each cowboy has his own horse, right? That's going to change. 20 or 30 years from now, it's going to be a very different multimodal, you know, electric, energized processing system. It's coming. Europe, you know, high-speed trains. I mean, there's going to be Athens cut out. Did you hear Athens cut out half the traffic into Athens every day? You know how they did it? If you had an odd number at the end of your license plate or an even number. So if you had an odd number, you could come into the city Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If you had an even number, you could come into the city Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And if you happen to have an even number and come in on a Tuesday, you got a fine that would knock your socks off. In one swift, smart move, they cut 50% of the downtown traffic in the city of Athens. This stuff can be done. It's like white roofs and black roofs. This isn't all huge technology stuff. Okay? I sat with a bunch of kids over at Regis, and we were talking black roofs and white roofs, and they weren't quite getting it. And I said, son, when you go outside and put your hand on the black car in the middle of the summer, what happens? Oh, that's hot. You put it over on the hood of a white car, what happens? Well, it's a lot cooler. Right, son? White roofs versus black roofs. 20 years ago, flying over LA or any of our warehouse locations, industrial locations, that's all you and I ever saw, right? Flying in on final. Black warehouse roofs, black warehouse roofs. Go over them now. They're all white. Stuff doesn't have to be that complicated. There's a lot of simple solutions out there if we enable a lot of our folks to come up with some of these.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll let you all go here pretty soon, but for each speaker, there's some golden nuggets that are put out there. And Dick shared with us a few that I would like to repeat. Face the truth. Deal with challenges. Think about that in your own life, whether it be business or anything else you're involved with. Face the truth. Deal with the challenges. It's about doing different things, not about doing things differently. Everybody has a strategy until you get punched in the face. That's Mike Tyson, but I'm going to give it to you as well. Do well by doing good. See, oftentimes people think that if you're going to do well, then you can't really do good. It's one or the other. I think they can work in concert with each other. Do well by doing good. And the last thing he said, which I'm unsure how much we can trust this one, is that he used to be 8 feet tall. We'll give it to you. I really believe that Colorado can be the Silicon Valley for the environmental movement. We've got the brain trust here, we've got the resources here. And as Dick shared with us this evening, there's tremendous opportunity out there. Instead of having it be done through government controls and restrictions and holding people back from their full potential, wouldn't it be amazing to go create the next company that can revolutionize the world? There's probably somebody in here tonight that can go and do that, and I encourage you to do that. So again, I want to thank Dick for being here. In addition to this evening's special event, we also hope that you can join us for some of the other exceptional speakers that we have coming here over the next few months. Next month, our special guest will be John Harpel, the founder and president of Mercator Energy, one of our nation's leading natural gas service, brokerage, and research organizations. In September, our featured guest is Josh Stewart, the founder and CEO of our nation's highly regarded hangar and fuel organization for private jet owners and users. And in October, we're honored to host Bruce Benson. He's the president of the University of Colorado. Go Buffs. Any Buffs in the room? Go Buffs. And has also been a pioneer in the uranium industry. So again, let's give a round of applause to Dick for being here, for all of his work.